Hello and welcome to this video. Today I'm going to experiment a bit with some project ideas I have, and for that I made and 3D printed these little foxes. So the first thing I want to try is coloring it with my 3D pen. I had the idea since with the 3D pen, usually when I want to use it I have more fun coloring than outlining because the outlines turn out a bit too rough. Which may just be a skill issue, but it's also really hard sometimes to get like really straight lines with like just the free speed mode that my pen has. But basically, since I have an issue with straight lines, you know, why not print the lines? That should work out well. Instead, you know, just to have something colored in, that's a lot of fun. So that's why I printed this version out, just a bit smaller so I can fill it in. And I'm using my 3D pen and just some PLA filaments in various colors that I've picked up over the years. This project could also be very good for like leftovers, you know, you can create a very colorful fox with like leftover filament that you have laying around that isn't enough for a print anymore because, you know, not all printers can successfully do a filament change and like recognize when the filament runs out. Even if they have a sensor, certain filaments also don't really work, like if they're too dark in color and the printer cannot recognize the difference between, you know, the filament and the part where it feeds into the extruder. So, you know, this may be a good way to reuse that. And plus it's very nice to like practice with the 3D pen, I find, just to like color in and all that stuff. I think like the more you practice with it, the better you get, and like getting the colors down. And you know, in this case I'm pressing it flat with the like help of the silicone protectors I have on my fingers, but of course in like other coloring cases you can also do textures, which is really nice. And you know, at some point I also want to maybe do like a larger 3D figure that I want to also smooth and sand in, and for that, you know, some practice is never bad. Plus this was actually a lot of fun to film. Now the one thing I immediately noticed is that I think I made the walls too high because the amount I needed to fill them in flat was a bit too much. And since this is hot plastic and it's the same material as I used for the lines, because I printed them also with PLA, it started melting them and making them a bit wonky. I think if I make this thinner so the filament from the pen can cook quicker, it should not melt the lines as much. But I also may try to use PETG since that has a little bit of a higher melting point, and hopefully maybe that works out. Anyways, if you try this and you want to get like these smoother like looks from the 3D pen, make sure you always wear the finger protectors. This is at least 210 degrees Celsius hot molten plastic, so you know, you can easily burn your fingers and it will hurt quite a lot. So having these like silicone protectors, they're really cheap, you can get them practically everywhere, really would help. Or you know, any like heat-proof silicone protecting gloves or something. this fox out actually was a lot of fun, and you know, I definitely felt the enjoyment that I always have when coloring things I created, you know, just with the 3D pen, which, you know, is still my favorite thing to do, like filling in the lines you created and coloring them in with a 3D pen. I don't know, it's very satisfying for me, and it certainly was in this case too. Now, I did print the second one out of PETG, as I mentioned, in this case black, and yeah, it didn't do that well either. Like, it definitely is too high with the wall height. I need to like reduce it so it's just like filling it in with one layer filament. Also for this one I only had some leftover filaments because I ran out of the orange, so I decided to make the tail colorful. This is precisely what I mean with just using like leftover filaments. These are from various spools that I don't even know anymore like which exactly they're from in some of these cases since I had them for so long. And I think they really look quite nicely together. One or two of them, I think the blues were purely from like a set that came with the 3D pen, but like the pinks and purples were all from different spools. So, you know, this is another thing to like show how useful this could be, especially a design like this where it's like broken up a little bit, so you don't have just like one giant area that you need to fill in with multiple colors. You can color each stripe differently, and I think it will have a really nice effect for this fox. I went with a more like symmetrical pattern for the tail, and I think it looks really cute. Kind of like, you know, going with the like unicorn-esque blues, pinks and purples that you see nowadays with the white. I think it matches quite well. The orange definitely also fits to that, although probably like a more yellowy orange would look a bit nicer, but I'm overall really happy with this, and I think both of the foxes I made so far are really lovely. Now the last thing I wanted to try out is resin pouring, so I printed this out a bit larger with the high wall thicknesses. I'm going to pour resin in it. Now it did work really well in the beginning, but sadly while transferring it over into the other room where I'm letting it cure, it spilled, so some of the colors will get mixed, but that is totally fine, you know, it was an experiment and it still kind of worked out in a way. And I think, you know, if you're a bit more careful, some of the lines are a bit thinner, but if you're a bit more careful, it definitely works as like a vessel for making a cute like resin display piece or something. Now of course, since this is plastic, always be careful because I know some resins get very, very hot when they cure. So they may, you know, melt the plastic a little bit and then leak out, but this resin I'm using is a very slow curing one, so it works out really well. And despite, you know, it like completely muddling the fox that I poured, I still think it looks like a cute fox, and I still think the concept is there. I definitely had a lot of fun working on all of them. The resin one was definitely the quickest, but I think, you know, depending on the pattern you can take your time a bit more. But the foxes were also so satisfying to color in. I may try to print these with like, you know, a bit flatter of a rim just to make sure that it's colored in one layer and can cool off properly, and you can, you know, color it in a bit better and saving a bit more filament. But I think, you know, that should work out well, and I may actually do some other designs. This was more a proof of concept, and I had a lot of fun designing the fox, so thought I'd share it in a video. Anyways, I hope you liked this video. Let me know in the comments down below what kind of motifs you would be interested in to see as like colorable with a 3D pen, or maybe you have some other ideas what these things would be useful for. Anyways, hope you have a great day. See you next time. Bye bye.